The Detroit Lions are all in to win a Super Bowl. But what exactly does it mean to be all in to win it all? For example, just recently, Jerry Jones said that the Cowboys are all in to win the next title, even though they won't because it's the Cowgirls. So are the Lions and Cowboys actually all in to win the title? Well, I'd say a perfect example of a team going all in to win the Super Bowl would be the LA Rams to win the 2022 title. They did this by trading for and signing big-time players to big-time contracts, starting out with quarterback Matthew Stafford. They traded for DB Jalen Ramsey and signed Von Miller. Now, going all in like this for the LA Rams worked out. They won the 2022 Super Bowl, but they definitely faced some drawback 2 seasons ago in 2023 as they lacked depth due to the large contracts of these players. With injuries to the offensive line and then to Matt Stafford, losing Von Miller, they definitely struggled and still lack depth in key places. To me, the Lions are all in, but in a totally different way than when the Rams were, as the Lions, to me, don't have a tight window to win it all. The Lions and Brad Holmes have built such a strong young core, and they've done this through the draft by drafting great talent year after year. People don't realize how young the Lions core really is, and that's why I thought people were crazy when they were saying the Lions had to win the Super Bowl last year. It was their only chance. Amon-ra St Brown, easily a top 10 wide receiver, has only played 3 years. Penei Sewell, a top 3 tackle, has only played 3 years. Gibbs, only 1 year. Kirby Joseph, only 2 years. Brian Branch, only 1 year. Sam Laporta, one of the best tight ends, only 1 year. Aleem McNeil has only played 3 years. And all these players are 24 years old or younger. And I think the Lions staff realized they almost went to the Super Bowl last year with one of the worst secondaries in all the NFL. They had the pieces, they were just lacking in one area. So why not address the issue, which they did in the draft and during free agency, pay your studs, and go win a Super Bowl? And that's what they're doing. And for people that got mad about Brad Holmes trading up in the draft so many times, using a lot of this year's draft capital or next year's draft capital, it doesn't matter anymore. The Lions don't need draft capital. They're not rebuilding. They don't need to hit on a bunch of draft selections and get better. They have their guys that they like. They've built up a pretty solid, deep roster. Might as well go get talent if you want it. And the biggest thing the Lions and Brad Holmes have done, alluding to the Lions going all in to win it all, is extending Jared Goff to 4 years, $212 million, with a lot of it being guaranteed, making him the second highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Jared Goff, who would have thought? Now, a lot of people don't like this, and I'd say the majority of people that don't like it aren't Lions fans. But still, there's a good majority of Lions fans that don't like extending Jared Goff to this much money. And I will defend it until I die. If you don't agree with this deal, then you're out of your mind. The first argument is always Jared Goff is old. He's old. Why would you pay him so much? Is he even going to be good for that long? He's 29 years old. Only 29 years old. Only 4 years older than Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, Jordan Love. He's only 2 years older than Lamar. He's only 1 year older than Baker Mayfield. Goff is also coming off of one of his best seasons of his career. He also throws a ton of touchdowns, doesn't throw interceptions, and is clutch in big moments. If you don't want Jared Goff, then who do you want to be the Lions quarterback? Why would you not want arguably a top 3 quarterback last season? If you take into account the playoffs and regular season, Jared Goff is easily top 3. Lamar did nothing in the playoffs. Jalen Hurts? No. Dak Prescott? No. Brock Purdy? Maybe better. You could argue that. Jordan Love? You could argue that. But otherwise, who else is there besides Patrick Mahomes? And it's also just based on people's rankings. If you ever see someone's opinion on the best quarterbacks in the NFL, top 10, top 5, Jared Goff is never in it. Nobody ever puts Jared Goff in it. Don't know why. It's just unlucky. But he's extremely underrated in my opinion. And the Lions have a great offensive line, and it's getting better. Goff doesn't take many big hits. He's not a rushing quarterback. So as long as he stays healthy, we'll be fine. The Lions have locked in their quarterback for the next 4 years. And I believe Goff will take the Lions in Detroit to a title. And honestly, even if Goff started playing really bad, had to get benched or got hurt, I think another quarterback could win with the Lions' current roster and coaching staff. Like, the Lions still have Hendon Hooker, who is an incredible talent and could always pop in there and win the Lions games. The second big move the Lions are going all in on is Amon-ra St Brown, which I'm so happy for him. 4 years, just over 120 million. The second highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. It's funny how close he is to Tyreek. They definitely did that on purpose just so he passed him. St. Brown is such a good wide receiver. Definitely top 5 in the NFL. People like to put him a little bit too low. I still think he's underrated. He's gotten better every single year. 1,500 yards last season. Phenomenal in the playoffs. The yards and stats that St. Brown puts up consistently is absurd. Like 9 games over 100 yards last season, 2 over 90. He's just a lock for at least 90 yards every single game. With his speed, athleticism, doesn't drop balls, so clutch on third down. He's a great example of what you can do with hard work, and new draftees want to be like him. You know, remembering all the wide receivers drafted above you type of thing. In the third piece, the Lions signed Penei Sewell to a 4-year, $112 million deal. The most guaranteed money by any offensive lineman by a long shot. And Penei Sewell is just a phenomenal athlete. We've seen him in the trick plays. He also can get downfield and make blocks. I don't know how he moves when he's that big. Phenomenal football player, is a leader of that offensive line. You know how Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell prioritize that offensive line, and it's really shown to be very productive, protecting the quarterback, giving the quarterback time to throw, no injuries with the quarterback, and helping the run game. We've seen how dangerous Jahmyr Gibbs and Monty have been. Additionally, Penei Sewell is just a leader on that football team. His pre-game speeches, his post-game speeches, and then he goes out there and gives it all he has. Great personality. He's a leader on that offense and honestly on that whole football team. You know, St. Brown leads by example, puts in the work, makes the plays, and Penei Sewell is extremely outspoken and brings great energy. I love these 3 moves. Payne, they're 3 top guys, the heart and soul of the franchise right here. Penei Sewell, Amon-ra St Brown, Jared Goff. Next up is Hutchinson. He is on track to become one of the best edge rushers in NFL history if he keeps this up. Just looking at the Lions roster, this has to be your favorite Lions roster of all time, right? There's so many names that of players you just love. Like, I know they're not playing 4-3. That's just what ESPN says, but this roster is amazing. There's some great depth here as well. The Lions addressed their secondary issue. They drafted Terrion Arnold with their #1 pick after trading up, and he's game ready. He's going to be a stud, and just from listening to his interviews and watching him play, he wants it bad, and he has a great mindset as well. I mean, as Brad Holmes and MCDC would say, he has that dog in him. And Terrion Arnold's so funny. He wants that pick. He wants to pick 6, to be more precise, at home, at the Lions Stadium. And then the other biggest part about the Lions going all in, which I think is most important, is you need your lockdown CB1. So it can play press man coverage on the outside. And that's Carlton Davis III. From the Bucks. A great signing by Brad Holmes. A ton of playoff experience. Is a true vet. Has a great mindset. I think our young defensive roster is going to be able to learn from him. I really like the Carlton Davis signing. He's led the league in passes deflected 2 times. I mean, some people kind of hating on him or they just think he's a bum. I think Carlton Davis is going to be great, and there's a huge piece missing on our secondary. And we also have Brian Branch coming into the year 2. Kirby Joseph's phenomenal. Iffy. And then we drafted Terrion Arnold and it's Rakestraw. And we also got Amik Robertson. And to go all in even more, the Lions signed Kevin Zeidler for more offensive line depth. And big boys up front on the defensive line, DJ Reader and Marcus Davenport. The Lions have buffed up. I think they've done it with the league. I think the league is going to be a lot harder to compete in next year, especially in the NFC North, with Jordan Love coming off a hot year. The Bears obviously getting Caleb Williams and a lot of other talent. The Vikings, I'm not as worried about, but just throughout the league, there was a lot of injuries last year, especially with quarterbacks, and I think it's going to be very competitive throughout. And this is some great moves by Brad Holmes and the Lions. I think Jared Goff will bring the Lions one Super Bowl within the next 4 years of his contract. I think it'll be next year, but if it's not, I think he definitely will bring one within the next 4.